and Brother Yaqub, as well as Mr. Savory. So without further ado, we're going to begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist shuhada lillahi walau ala anfusikum awil walidaini wal aqrabin in yakun ghaniyan aw faqiran fallahu awla bihima fala tattabi'ul hawa an ta'dilu وَإِن تَلْوُوا أَوْ تَعْرِضُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ. The verses that I recited are from the Holy Quran, the scripture of the Muslims dealing with justice and equity. Hopefully, inshallah, in a few minutes, my brother will read the translation out for you. But I also wanted to tell you a little bit about the history of our community here. We've been here since the 1920s at 45th and Wabash. And we belong to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And with the help of the alderwoman, Ms. Pat Dowell, she helped us pick up this facility after it was vacant for a while. And we're turning it into a center where we can help serve the community. One of the most fundamental goals of Islam is peace. And in order to bring about peace, it has to come from within. And it starts with the community. And with the various programmings that we've had thus far, all geared towards introducing ourselves to the community. The program today would be dealing with absolute justice. And that is a common theme and a common core, not just for a harmonious society, but also for harmony within individuals, within communities, within homes. And that starts off with many, many things, but most importantly, it begins with us. Before I continue, I just wanted to play a little video to introduce to you the community that we belong to and what our goals are.
The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is a dynamic, fast-growing, international revival movement within Islam. Founded in 1889, it spans more than 195 countries, with membership exceeding tens of millions. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the only Islamic organization to believe that the long-awaited Messiah has come in the person of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, India. Ahmad claimed to be the metaphorical second coming of Jesus of Nazareth and the divine guide whose advent was foretold by the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, on whom be peace. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community believes that God sent Ahmad, like Jesus, to end religious wars, condemn bloodshed, and reinstitute morality, justice, and peace. Ahmad's advent has brought about an unprecedented era of Islamic revival. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the leading Islamic organization to categorically reject terrorism in any form. More than a century ago, Ahmad emphatically declared that the doctrine of violent jihad goes against the teachings of the Holy Quran and the practice of Muhammad. Instead, Ahmad's advent as Messiah ushered in a new era of tolerance, dialogue, and prayers. To that end, he penned more than 80 books and thousands of letters, delivered countless lectures, and engaged in public debates and prayer tools in an intellectual and spiritual campaign to defend the honor of Islam. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the foremost Islamic organization with a central spiritual leader. Over a century ago, Ahmad reminded his followers of God's promise to safeguard the message of Islam through Khilafah, the spiritual institution of successorship to prophethood. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community believes that only spiritual successorship can uphold the true values of Islam and unite humanity. 5 spiritual leaders have succeeded Ahmad since his demise in 1901. The 5th and current spiritual head, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad, resides in the United Kingdom. Under the leadership of its spiritual successors, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has now built more than 15,000 mosques, more than 500
was killed by George Zimmerman, who claimed that the stand for ground law barred him from prosecution. So I think it's important that in these times we acknowledge the contributions of our ancestors. And so today I speak the names of Mary McFarland, Sam McFarland, Norman Dowell, Catherine Dowell, Representative Shirley Chisholm, Councilman Alfonso Dowell, Ms. Jennings, Ms. Harris, Ms. Rushton, and Ms. Little, who poured into me as a little girl and always pushed me to give 110% of myself and to seek self-actualization. My remarks today honor these lives. I was asked to speak by Naima on the success of African American women making significant gains as government officials. And although Black women make up about 13 to 14% of the female population, Black women are making strides everywhere. We're making strides in higher education, in entrepreneurship, even in conservative politics. You just have to look at Omarosa. Entrepreneurship, technology, healthcare, and we do this without a lot of support from programs that could improve our lives. We still face disparities in hypertension, sexually transmitted diseases, and AIDS, for example. We also have limited access to capital, limited access to education, employment, and disparity in wages. While I'm sure many of us could point to women that we know that are active and important in our own communities, women who lead organizations, run our churches and our mosques, maybe not our mosques, run our churches, lead parent groups in our schools. When it comes to our representation in government, we are underrepresented at all levels, whether you are appointed or elected. And in preparation for today, I looked up some statistics. In 2015, Black women made up about 7% of the US population, but we're only 3% of the Congress, less than 1% of statewide elected executive officials, less than 4% of state legislatures, and less than 2% of mayors in this country. In Illinois, we make up about 8% of Illinois population, and our numbers are worse for Congress and better for statewide elected officials. In the city council where I was elected in 2007, we had 19 African American seats, and of those 19 seats, 14 were women. Today, we have only 18 Black aldermanic seats and only 7 women. We are represented and appointed positions at City Hall, but not very much. And we cannot say the same thing, we can say the same thing about Black men. So I think we've made some gains, but we can get so much more for our community and our people if we supported one another and could move strategically and collectively on many fronts, not just in City Hall, but within our communities and within our institutions. I think the importance here is that we have to vote. We have to vote. That's how you exercise your power in this city and in this country. And we have to actively resist against injustice. Every day, I have made a pledge since the Trump administration has come into play, where they're trying to have what I would call a pest control perspective on people in this country, that I think it's very important that every day we find one way of resisting, of fighting back, to actively fight back. And so I've made that commitment as we move forward. Ms. Lateef also asked me to speak briefly on my personal efforts to overcome challenges and achieve progress in the Third Ward. I guess I could say that I'm humbled that the Lord put me in a place to do the work that I love, and I thought hard about this question. Assuming the office after being a 24-year incumbent and a very bitter runoff, and building bridges to those who did not support me. I think that that's been a key thing that I've learned since being elected, that you have to build bridges and work with everybody, whether they supported you or not. The importance of being fair, to make sure that you provide good city service and good city services, and working with people and doing that from a position of strength. I think the second thing I've learned is overcoming the difficulty of moving a ward forward in the face of an 18-month recession that started in 2008. I came in with big plans to build some houses and attract new retail, but the private marketplace just wasn't cooperating and they weren't investing in the Third Ward. And so I spent that time trying to use our tax dollars to improve our parks, and do some infrastructure improvement. I know I have one more page. Do some parks and infrastructure improvement to upgrade our schools, and to work to build up community involvement. You know, I landmarked some historic buildings. I passed some important legislation on vacant buildings, on the TIF, NIP, and SPIF programs. But all that was done as I was trying to wait for the economy to get better. So I guess the lesson here is you get in where you fit in, and do what you can when you can, to the best of your ability. Now that the economy is getting better, the challenge is sifting the wheat from the chaff. Everybody now wants to come in and do stuff in the Third Ward. But we want to make sure that we work with people who want to retain the character of our community and provide new opportunities for African American businesses. They also want to improve our parks and improve our schools. I think the thing is to be thoughtful about the use of the city-owned land that we have in the area, because every time if you walk out this door now, you will see that the ward is full of vacant land, most of it owned by the city. So you just don't want to give it away to anybody that wants to just come in and build and do things without them really having a commitment to the community and acknowledging the history and the legacy of the Third Ward and what it has meant to the city of Chicago and the world. So I think I'll end here. I've enjoyed sharing my thoughts, and if there are questions, I look forward to answering, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the panel. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Mr. Johnny Savory, who was wrongfully convicted of a double murder at the age of 14 in 1977. Johnny Lee Savory of Peoria, Illinois, spent most of his life behind bars until being released on parole in 2006. As one of his final acts of office, former Governor Pat Quinn pardoned Mr. Savory, meaning his record will be expunged or purged. With the help of lawyers with the Center on Wrongful Convictions, Mr. Savory is still seeking a legal ruling asserting his innocence and has filed a motion requesting advanced DNA testing on some evidence from his trial. Mr. Savory continues to work as an advocate for the wrongfully convicted. He has worked with Reverend Jesse L. Jackson and the Rainbow Push organization in assisting many wrongfully convicted felons who are still fighting for justice. And I present to you, on that note, social justice advocate, Mr. Johnny Savory.
Good morning, everyone. Just to update everyone, I've achieved victories in all of the DNA testing. So, maybe one part of this journey left, that's the civil side of it, and then we'll get to that, and then I can begin a new journey with my daughter and the mother of my child, and do what I'm supposed to do with it. Naeem asked me to speak here today regarding injustice and how I was able to get here 40 years later. Because this journey took 40 years. I don't want nobody to think it took overnight. 40 seemed to be divine if you look in biblical history. All the things centered around 40. I guess there's a certain maturity spiritually, mentally, and physically that comes with that. So you can go back and touch other people's lives and they can touch yours and see that this is a real person standing here. And the testimony and the glory has to go to God. My faith is what places me here right now. And as a people, it is our faith that has given us our greatest triumphs as we engage with those who seek to oppress us. Now, what I'm going to say is going to be a little sad because it's hard to take in when you realize that some of your own people are co-conspirators in that journey. We always seem to, do the black and white thing, but we never seem to really hold our own people accountable for what they do wrong to us. I'm going to tell you, it was black detectives who lied and fabricated this evidence on me with their white counterparts. I don't want to leave them out. Judas had a hell of a role in life when it comes to betrayal. And as a people, our community can change in a way that we have never seen before if we just bring back a cup of flour and a cup of sugar. Now, do anybody out there know the relevance of a cup of flour and a cup of sugar?
Break bread together.
No one? It's impossible. In the black community, that's what we did with one another. We shared a cup of flour and a cup of sugar to your neighbor who just migrated up here from the South. We have forgotten that? How to share? We didn't forget the most important thing, how to love. See, when you don't have love, you have injustice. Makes it easy for those to come in and take your children right out your house. Kill you like Emmett Till. Sometimes it don't even matter the color of your skin, because let us not forget the 3 white children who lost their lives in Mississippi trying to uncover what the Ku Klux Klan and voters' right bill. See, we forget too quickly. We need to remember and teach our children every day that our journey over here, 100 million people lost their life. That's more than on some continents. And they say, why is this relevant? It's all injustice. We like to remove ourselves from the people who place the chains on us. Some of our own people place the chains on them. Since it's Black History Day, we might as well go and tell the truth. It's a distraction to constantly look over there and see our schools crumbling. 54 schools, they mad at Rom. The crumbling began long before Rom. And we have many thieves in there that look just like us. Miss Bird came from Detroit, right? School system wasn't no good up there either. Matter of fact, they put the man in prison in New York, in Detroit. When we gonna stop robbing our own people? Matter of fact, I think the Bible said, will a man rob God? Every time you put your hands on our children, you're robbing our future. We're not the future. We're guardians of the future. We're there to protect them children, to make sure they have a chance to have proper education. They should not walk out their house in fear. We just lost 3 little children. I don't see us marching in the streets for that. We march when the white police wouldn't be able to kill our people if we stood up in our community and stopped our own people from killing. Men, we can't be. How you let that happen? Our children never took over our communities before. Where Big Mama at? Where Auntie? Where your sister? Some of you out there know what I'm talking about. And for those of you young who don't know, we are guardians. God has blessed us so much. I mean, I can't express to you what it has done from slavery to here. People talking about it's rough. When you was laying in that ship in them sardine cans, and as you and the beach is dropping down on you, you ain't experienced that. Do we got too much now? Because when we had less, we were more of a community. I could reach out and touch him. Now I don't even know his name. We had a little sister fighting in the Olympics for that gold medal. See, I'm still on injustice. People just don't know I'm just taking it everywhere it need to go. She went over there fighting for that gold against all odds. Why would the sisters be back here in the beauty shop talking about her hair nappy? That's all you saw? Was her hair being nappy? You didn't see her fighting for that gold, turning flips, dancing like she was on a cloud. We do not give honor to one another as we should. We act like our children are something foreign. We talking about the monsters out there killing. They're only monsters because you created them. They didn't create themselves. I want us today to do something we have never done before in life as a people. We have never asked each other for forgiveness. Those was our tribes that was putting us on them ships. We have never turned to each other and said, hey, could you forgive me? Because once we can forgive each other, God can move in and do what he do best. He's waiting for us to come back as children to him. No matter if it's Allah, Elohim, Jehovah. But without faith and hard work and love, see, I had to learn how to love. See, you tried to trick me. When you falsely put me in prison, you tried to make me hate you. You tried to create a cancer of bitterness. Now, if that would have happened, I wouldn't be standing here today. See, because when you have hatred and bitterness, you can't see. Rage blocks your vision, blocks God trying to reach you. Love is not weak. Love is strong. That's what made that mother send her baby down the river so Moses could go get in Pharaoh's house. But I had a question. How was he able to get in the house if he was so much different? He had to look like him in order to become Pharaoh's son. Once again, we're back at our own home. It's time for us to take our community back, take our city government back. As Dow talked about the care and love that went into her in order for her to return care and love to the community. She can't do it by herself. Them roadblocks you got, we should unroadblock it. We 45% of the city. You act like you're 2%. You're 45%. You can't do nothing. If we put $1 in, could we open up another school? $1. Everybody, 45%, put $1 up. We can open the school every year. Maybe 2 of them. You as guardians, they're sitting here as guardians to see that you're protected, you're fed, and you're properly educated. Not with propaganda, with truth. God already laid the road out. You know, all you got to do is follow it. Now, man, we're not perfect. I'm not talking about perfection here. I'm talking about clinging to your spirituality and let it do what it do best. And I love you all. And can you do me one favor? I didn't come here for money. So I'm just asking you one more time. I laid the foundation for it. Will you all turn to each other and ask each other for forgiveness? Everybody. Everybody can do that. Yes.
Excuse me. I want to dedicate something to you since you was talking about forgiveness. I wrote this song. Keep forgiveness in your life, yeah. No need for attitude. Step into latitude. Out of darkness into that glorious light. Happiness is a tool that keeps your life flowing good. Happiness is a tool that keeps your life flowing good. Happiness is a tool keeps your life flowing good. Keep forgiveness in your life.
All praise be to Allah. That was beautiful, brother. And Brother Johnny Savory, I commend you. Our next speaker will be Sister Naima Latif. As executive producer of the international radio show, The Female Solution, Sister Naima Latif uses her skills as a journalist and a communicator to raise public consciousness about current issues that affect our community. She is the author of the book, The Female Solution, a guide for establishing healthy family relationships. She is also the co-author of, along with her late husband, Brother Sultan Abdul Latif, of the widely acclaimed book, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma, which we're still being affected by that as of today, like the brother mentioned, and former Alderman Pat Dowell. An examination of the lingering psychological effects of the African American slave experience. She is currently executive producer of the weekly news commentary show, The Media Connection. I now present to you media specialist, Sister Naima Latif.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, the one without any partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and his messenger. I greet you all with the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Well, I'm grateful to see such shining faces here today, and it's a blessing to be joined by such illustrious speakers, and I appreciate all of you who have come to lend your energy to this day. Our intention after our speakers, of course, is to, as your program shows you, handle some of these very intense problems that have created the condition we find ourselves in, living in a very unjust society. And as our alderman has pointed out, of course, we have had some tragedies, and right in our own communities, we're seeing fear as a result of not only lives being lost, but sometimes those who are responsible for protecting lives being the perpetrators. And as Brother Johnny Savory mentions, our criminal justice system is sometimes the most unjust. And so we have a fight, but the real fight starts within. The foundation for our society is the family, and that's what I'll be discussing today in our workshop to follow as we seek to find ways to bring that family back together. Now, of course, we know that the basics of our problem is economics. Families needing to be able to sustain themselves. In 1935, Congress instituted 3 programs that were supposed to be safety nets for families. One was Social Security, which was to aid the old and disabled. The second was unemployment insurance, which was to aid those who were temporarily out of a job. And the third was the aid to families with dependent children, AFDC, which came to be known as welfare. Now, of course, we're very familiar with the welfare system. Basically, what it has evolved into is a system where a woman who is either widowed or without a husband may be given financial assistance to take care of her children. And that sounds good. But of course, what that evolved into has been a systematic destruction of our families. Now, when AFDC first was instituted, it actually excluded black women. So it was mostly Caucasian women who were able to take advantage of this government program. And then as time went on, the stipulations for the program became very distinct. And if you may remember, some of y'all are old enough to remember that movie Claudine.
Yeah, when the nations began to take over the third world countries, there was injustice in that rather than negotiate with us, negotiate with our forefathers, they just went in and took it. Justice is only fair dealing. How we treat each other as individuals, how we treat each other as nations, it has to be fair. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, peace, blessings of Allah be upon him, even if it's against yourself. Tribalism, as I spoke of about Africa, exists in our communities. In my time, it was a black peace-stone rangers. That was decided our existence in the form in which they were existing at that particular time. They are fractured now. There's no one supreme leader like Pepperlo on the west side. They don't do this. They don't understand what is the concept of what manhood is. Now, I served time in prison. Were learning, they were studious, they were smart. But the group that I hung out with, I dumbed myself down. I didn't want them to know I read books. I didn't want them to know I read history books or biographies of various individuals. Because we write our names on the wall and with magic markers. Martin Luther King didn't write his name on the wall. Malcolm X didn't write his name on the wall. Others put his name on the wall. Others put A. Philip Randolph's name on the wall. Whoever was great and honored in society with no light, potholes. And when I was teaching, every man was a man. Every woman is a female. But not every female is a woman. Those are gender identifications. But if it gets to mine, then this applies equally to men and women. Because women are just as intelligent as men, they can be just as intelligent as men. So what we need to think about is how can we show these young people, I wish it was more often, but I'm a man. And all of them walk the same, that wear their pants like that. Yeah. So, manhood is what? Womanhood is what? This is what they have to understand. Education
philosophical education, technical education, intellectual education, and moral education. Because moral education puts the other developments or educational developments in check. Nowadays, you have doctors. They raided their homes and found child porn on their computers. Teachers, lawyers, policemen. So technical education or philosophical education. When a mother is feeding her child, and this is an example that our fourth Khalifa gives us. He said this is the highest level of justice. A mother who feeds her child doesn't expect her child isn't looking for anything from the baby that she's feeding. She just do it naturally. And this is the highest level of justice. What we need to do as individuals is to resolve harm in our neighborhoods. What do you think the cause of it? Persons see what you have, and rather than go out and work for it, they take it from you. They burglarize your home. The murders a few years ago, when they were killing people in the communities for their gym shoes, for their starter jackets. Materialistic desire is created within us, and we are robbed of the means and opportunity in order to acquire the wealth that we need in order to purchase these particular things ourselves. We're not educated enough, so we go out and we take. Why are we educated? Because the systems that we...
51st Street, Central, Laramie, on the west side, 63rd Street. You'll see a lot of our brothers hanging out because they didn't get the proper incentive to acquire education. A man can be no greater than his thoughts. A woman can be no greater than hers. So we need to inspire great thoughts in those young people that are at risk. You have hardcore gangbangers out here, and I'm not lying. And nothing that we say will reach them because they think that manhood is pulling out your gun. We used to fist fight. They don't fist fight no more. Some go down and they pulling out their gun because self-interest is still in a lot of us, even in our relationships. We have to get rid of self-interest if it's for the good. Nations, the wealthy nations, the have nations, they got wealthy because they robbed the lands of the have-not nations and took labor from the have-not nations and got wealthy. Our Khalifa says that there will be no peace as long as there's an absence of justice. If we don't begin to deal justly with each other, if we don't begin to remove self-interest from our core, then we will never survive as families, we will never survive as communities, we will never survive as nations, and we will never survive as a world. Our Khalifa says that it's possible that there will be a third world war. And it will only occur because nations only do things if it's in their own self-interest. And the leaders that we pick, we have to pick them not because we have a self-interest in whatever their policy is, but it has to be the right policy. We have to be educated. We have to study what it is they want to do. And we pick our leaders because it's the leaders that drag us into war. None of our children start wars, but they're going to have to fight them once they start. So we have to be analytical in our choice of political leaders. because these are the ones that will represent us. So if the have nations were just, then they would want to spread their wealth. If the rich people in this country were just, they would want to spread their wealth. They would want to let it trickle down, not trickle down, but flow down. People working at McDonald's that's 35 and 40 years old, and our teenagers. McDonald's make billions of dollars, millions of dollars, Burger King. All of these entities like that. But they only care about the shareholders. The shareholders are amassing wealth. And we've seen the different demonstrations that these individuals at these particular restaurants have from time to time. Because what do they want? A livable wage. A wage that will enable them to take care of a family. Maybe purchase a home. Maybe get a car that will enable them to get to work. That's all they want, a livable wage. But the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. That's not justice. Justice is fair dealing. Love for your brother what you love for yourself. Do unto others what you would want them to do unto you. That's the justice that we exercise with each other. But there's a day coming when the one who can exercise absolute justice will exercise it. And justice is not always going to be in our favor. Sometimes justice is against us, and sometimes it's for us. Man's justice is imperfect, but God's justice is perfect. So when we say absolute justice, that's the criteria that we're supposed to work toward. Loving each other, being honest with each other, not trying to deceive each other, not trying to misuse each other. When a man sees a woman, you want that woman to be your wife, not a booty call, and vice versa. That's justice. You don't look at a woman just as an instrument of pleasure, and neither should she look at a man as an instrument of pleasure. Man and woman coming together make a family, and that brings about the unity. Our whole body consists of cells, and there are various ingredients in each cell. The neutrons, the protons, and the electrons. I liken that as to the family. A proton is the mother. The neutron is the child because it's neutral at that particular time. It hasn't established itself. And the electron, it orbits the nucleus of the cell, and that's representative of the Father. Our body consists of that kind of unity. And that unity did not organize itself as some people would like us to believe. That's a divine design. And when you look in the heavens, what do you see? You see the heaven working, the heaven and the earth working together to produce life. You see the sun, which symbolizes the Father. You see the moon, which symbolizes the mother. And you see the earth that gives birth, gives forth fruit from that particular combination. Because the sun and the moon, the light of both, brings about growth and development here on earth. That's spiritual unity. These are signs that God gives us to show us how we should live our lives. Working together in perfect harmony. No injustice whatsoever. Giving of itself. The sun doesn't withhold its light. Say, I might shine on you today, but you're going to be in the darkness tomorrow. So justice. and the African American experience. We've been treated unjustly for a long time. It was organized back then, way back then. But now it's not organized. So